Let's go back to the variable universal life. That's a permanent product, but there's more people paying term premiums first year than variable universal life. So that's cool. Policy count grew 5% year over year. Growth likely reflects continued digital platforms. That's pretty clear. Underwriting is making it easier. Improve agent productivity, and like you go on YouTube, you listen to shows. Every talk host has got some sponsor, whether it's Ethos or Policy Genius or whatever. They're always selling it. Now, also, what can be challenging is we look at lapse ratios, and a lot of times the lapse ratios get reflected in all these policies, and anyone that you talk to will say most of that has to do with term insurance, and not all of that is bad. Like your policy could end, and that technically could be a lapse. It could be canceled prematurely. That could be considered a lapse. And so, you can see there's a ton of policies coming in, 788 million. What's the biggest pitch to term insurance? It's super cheap. So it's likely that even though the premium only represents 18% share of the insurance market, the amount of policies that are being sold are insane, and we know that lapse ratios have everything to do with policies, not premium. And so that's just something that I think needs to be talked about. That's another example of how percentages could be a little bit misleading. We'll use percentages like, this many people cancel or no longer have coverage or cancel their coverage. But it's a big portion of that is coming from term policies, and what's the pitch? It's super cheap. So it would be interesting to dive in, and I don't actually think there's real data because it's every company's a little bit careful with what they share, and so that's why things have been a little bit foggy. I don't know if you have any comments there.
No, and then I would just say that this will likely continually be a driving force. Like, I can't imagine a world where it's not, just due to the sheer fact of the things that you mentioned. But also there's companies like State Farm, for instance, that are just massive behemoth of companies that's really all they sell, right? They're like, you get the State Farms, Allstates, they're just selling term insurance for majority of it because they're not like life insurance agents or advisors. They sell home and auto, and then they give their clients discounts for getting term insurance. And so that's a constant theme of like, I'm going to try to push term insurance in general just to get you the discount, but also get me paid. And it's a good thing in general. Like, more people getting insured, that's never going to be a bad thing. And then you consistently have more of these companies that are demutualizing, and one of the largest term insurance providers right now is Prudential. And you start to look at like the history of them. Like, they used to be a massive whole life insurance carrier, and they used to do a lot of really great things in that space. But the thing that probably is going to be more profitable in a lot of ways is pushing term insurance. And so because of that, these companies will keep pushing it regardless of the end of time.